Welcome back to the shop tour series. You might be able to tell where we're at. We've got campers and toppers here in the background. We just landed at the Go Fast Campers headquarters here in Belgrade, Montana. Now they do all their manufacturing here. We're gonna go through a step-by-step of this made in America camper. I just got a V2 Pro on my truck yesterday, so we're super excited. But we're about to sit down and walk around with Graeme, the owner and founder here at GFC. We're gonna do a full manufacturing tour walk around here in Belgrade. Then we're gonna zip over to Manhattan and we're gonna look at the install, service, and retail location. Let's get after it. Hi guys, I am here with Graeme MacPherson.
Dude, good to finally meet you.
Great to finally meet you. We have talked for a while now. We have been familiar for a while now, a few years. He actually knows Brennan, if you guys are familiar with him, for several years now, even longer than we've known each other. Graeme, why don't you tell us a little bit about where we are and kind of give us a quick overview of GFC before we go into the tour.
Yeah, so we are at Go Fast Campers HQ here in Belgrade, Montana. And at Go Fast, we do all the manufacturing in-house, what's called vertically integrated. So we do all the sewing, machining, all the final assembly work, everything here in Montana. So the product's built right here. So thanks for coming all the way out here. I know it's like a 22-hour drive. So we'll start out by touring kind of the different shop spaces and kind of show you the process behind what goes into making one of these campers.
Yeah, I'm excited. So right now we are going to start out on the first phase of the where all the raw materials are coming in, right? Yeah, and that is called Machine Town.
Machine Town, yep. So we'll do Machine Town, then Fabric Town, then small parts and subassembly, then final.
Perfect.
Yep.
All right, let's hit it.
Perfect.
All right, here we go. Step one of the complex. So what do we got going on in here?
So this is the machine shop. Each one of these carts here represents a camper build. Everything that we build is basically built specifically to order for that vehicle. So we have 117 different camper models. So that all fit the vehicle perfectly. So we match the cab rake, we match the height, we match the length, we match the width to make sure that you have as aerodynamic and good looking of a setup as possible. And we're the only camper company on the market that is that specific to the vehicle.
Yeah, so you guys have some of the most compatibility then, even compared to some of the, call it the fiberglass companies. I think you guys even have more compatibility in many cases because you've gone to that extent of the 117 you said?
Yep, yeah, and the way that we are able to kind of backdate that manufacturing, because we don't have a lot of fixed tooling costs like a fiberglass shell does, we can backdate all the way back into the 80s. So we support a lot of vehicles that are quite old, so like first gen Toyota pickup, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I think, was it Basil's Garage that I just saw do the 80 that they chopped?
Yep.
And then they put the camper on it, right?
Yeah. So
what a crazy one-off build.
Yeah, so what they did there, that's kind of a good way to explain how this all works. So they cut the back half off the 80, and then we 3D scanned it, and then we brought that into CAD and actually made a specific model for that truck. So same thing with the 4th gen, second, first, and 3rd gen camper are all relatively similar, but the 4th gen, because of that big shark fin and kind of cab splitter that it has, we actually had to run a negative rake on the back of that camper. So just a few little features.
It's tilted backwards,
yep,
right?
Exactly. So the only other vehicle that we have to do that with is the Rivian. So Toyota made it kind of fun for us to solve these problems.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in this machine shop, and I think you were in here the other day kind of showing people working. Today's Friday, so it's production day off. We do 410s here at the shop. These big VF10s here, where we'll start, a little brother in the middle. So what we do is we actually machine this big tube stock that's on the ground here down to size. So all of the ends of the tubes that create that space frame structure, that's really the backbone of the camper, are all actually physically coped and then machined. So all the drill tap features, all the coping are all machined on these big vertical machines here. Okay. So we do a bunch of those per day, and we'll see those finished carts over in final assembly later. So each one of these carts, these are the extrusion rack carts. You can kind of see, it's like a little IKEA block. So it's visually indicating whether or not you have all of the components that you need for a build that day. So each one of these carts will have what we call a Kanban card, and it's going to basically designate who this camper is going for, what the completion date's going to be. So when you buy a camper from GoFast, we actually schedule your install the day that you buy it. So we could be 2-3 months out, but we hit that deadline to the hour. So if you have a 10 a.m. install on Thursday, August 22nd, like you schedule that when you buy it and we build it for you for that day.
Okay, that's impressive. And I mean, maybe we'll get into this as we go through and even in the assembly, but it probably applies to the whole process. You guys employ, and I forget what it's called, a specific manufacturing technique. And if I remember it correctly, like it's what Toyota and like the Japanese work culture does, right? Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, so it's built off the Toyota production system. So it's a really lean manufacturing process where basically we because we make everything here in America, we want to make sure that everything is as efficient as possible. So we don't have a lot of waste because we can't afford to, because we pay our workers really well here. So each person at the shop is making kind of on average about $27 an hour. So we pay really high wages, but we also have a really affordable product because we employ a lot of automation tools. And we also employ really, really lean manufacturing processes. So one of the places to see that automation in action is down here.
Yeah, let's go.
So these 3 machines that we're walking past, they do all the big extrusion pieces, all the big black parts on the camper. And then all the bright work, all the silver stuff, all happens on what's called the POS DT1s with these robotic machine cells. So we designed this whole integration in-house. So we actually have a Universal Robots robotic arm that will physically load and run these machines in a full lights out environment. So even though there's 7 machines in here, it takes 2 employees to keep this place humming. So we're able to have that operational efficiency where we're eliminating those jobs of like physically hand loading parts, unloading parts, hand loading parts, unloading parts. First off, it's not a fun job. And second off, it's really expensive to have a human at each station. So we're able to have 2 people who are able to elevate out of that and get paid better to kind of oversee the operation and kind of get rid of that like arguably unethical like hand loading monotonous labor.
Sure.
So here's a good example of what these guys are making.
Yeah, the billet ends.
So
yeah.
That's the billet end cap right there. So all of the parts on a Go Fast are actually all billet machined here in Montana. So nobody else makes parts like that. It's a really, really beautiful component.
It's
so,
pretty. Like, it's
yeah.
aesthetically pleasing. I remember the old caps. Not that there was anything wrong with them,
Yep.
right? But the new V2 Pro stuff,
The Pro stuff is
beautiful.
really cool.
It's really cool.
Yeah, and these have about 10 minutes more machine time, basically per corner on them than
Okay.
the old ones.
All right. Is
And-
that considered a lot, or is that relatively low, given that, like, if a human or something was doing it, it would be a lot worse than that?
If a human was doing it, it would cost a lot more money.
Yeah.
So because we're able to run this way, we actually can run like a half a shift lights out. So we can run these for 4 hours after everyone leaves.
Yeah.
So these things will be loading and unloading parts all night. So this is kind of the stock that we start with for that corner, and that's what you end up with. So it's quite a bit different.
Yeah.
And then what will happen to this part is it'll actually get tumbled. So it'll get basically thrown into a physical shaking tumbler machine. Get all the machine finish kind of off of it to smooth that out, and it'll get a double clear coat anodized, so it's totally UV stable.
Oh, so it's anodized on top of everything. Okay.
Yeah, so we go through a lot of measures. Like, feel free to stop me if I'm too nerdy here, but
No, go after it.
one of the big issues, especially where you live, is galvanic corrosion.
Oh,
so
yeah.
in a salt spray environment, especially on the back of a vehicle, we're getting a lot of road salt, even from like dirt roads and stuff, that's going up and it's interacting with the back of your camper. And if you have an aluminum and then steel interface or any sort of dissimilar metals, there's a special corrosion process that's especially evil called galvanic corrosion. And what that does is it basically just completely destroys both like a fastener and the aluminum part it's going into if those materials are not correctly prepared beforehand.
And they fuse. Sometimes they fuse together
not only do they
almost.
fuse together, but they destroy each other.
Okay.
So like the threads will actually die, like the threads that are in the aluminum part on the steel will actually just basically dissolve.
Okay.
So the whole thing just kind of corrodes to complete failure. So what we do is we actually anodize these parts, which mitigates that galvanic corrosion layer, and then we also use special aluminized zinc fasteners. So we actually use OEM spec components and OEM spec processes, so that way your camper lasts longer than the truck it goes on. Because when we started this company, there were no options for something like reasonably affordable that wasn't going to end up in the landfill in a couple of years. Because you throw a Tipui on a bed rack, and like 3 years later, it's probably junk.
Yeah.
So we want this to be indefinitely serviceable, built to huck, and last forever. And because we use all these like billet, race car parts, and super nice components, it's super lightweight. And then employing a lot of these advanced automation tools, we're able to make it at a pretty affordable price.
Yeah. You guys are definitely, I mean, you introduced the lightweight camper category. That was your idea. You were the first one. Otherwise, we're looking at the big, honking, bulky slide-ins and everything like that. So you guys definitely revolutionized everything, and now you're kind of continue to innovate everything in this process. And I imagine the V2 Pro, I'm sure there'll be a V10 Pro 3, you know, in like 10 years from now, and it'll be, you know, obviously as good, if but obviously better, as you guys always improve the product. So,
and we've got 7 years of this under our belt, so a lot of institutional knowledge that we've learned, and a lot of just developing and practicing and kind of re-innovating to make sure that we have the most durable, rugged product on the market. And one of those big goals that we have is like, how do you keep it really strong and really light? And that lightweight is super critical, especially like on a Tacoma platform. Because you put 400 pounds on the back, it's going to drive terrible.
You only have so much payload capacity on the mid-sized truck. So especially on the call it the underpowered ones, right?
And I think a lot of folks kind of roll their eyes at payload because like, oh, whatever, I can just put heavier springs on it, maybe a big brake kit if I really care. But the car drives like crap. So it's like, even if you don't care about the payload, which you should, because it matters, you should care about the driving experience. Because you put like a 400-pound camper on the back of your truck and you're cornering hard down the road, it's just going to make the driving experience not fun, whether it's on the street or the dirt.
Yeah, I've definitely had my fair share of overloading vehicles. I think when all of us get into the overland and off-road space, the first impulse is put everything I possibly can on that thing, right? And you learn, right, eventually, and I've definitely learned, and one of the reasons I love Go Fast, and especially like even your tents and stuff, right? Especially like the super light idea and everything like that, is keeping the weight down, keeping the performance and the handling and everything,
Absolutely.
you know, at the highest level possible. Because otherwise, yeah, it's a bear. Like my overbuilt, call it 4th gen 4Runner that I had years ago, screaming up every possible pass ever, especially at elevation. So I might have been able to avoid that if I shaved 1,000 pounds off and I wasn't like
Just
15.
a casual 1,000 pounds.
Yeah, just a casual. Which I mean, dude, it was a heavy truck. But yeah, I definitely appreciate the lightweight aspect of everything. And
I mean, most of these trucks are our daily drivers, right?
yeah,
like,
exactly.
Some folks have like an expedition specific vehicle, but like I want a car that my wife can take to the grocery store still. So it's how do we modify something to it so it's not irreparably different, right? Like buy a camper that won't ruin your truck.
Yeah.
And that's really what we're targeting. So it's how does it work as your daily driver? How does it work to haul stuff to the dump? How does it work to do a Home Depot run? Like, how do you still keep your truck useful as a truck? Because you spend a lot of money on that truck, especially nowadays. I mean, everything's like 60 grand.
Everything. Even a Jeep Grand Cherokee is like 60 grand. They blow up after like a few thousand miles. But yeah, on the note of being able to use the vehicle, I mean, on a funny note, to use my truck as a truck, I painted my house a couple years ago and I didn't have a ladder, or I was scared to go up on the ladder. So I backed the GFC up next to the house and I put a piece of plywood on the GFC and then I put a 15-foot ladder on it. And I'm painting like the top end of my house. So if anything, it's better than it was in factory form because I was able to paint my house. So
You should have gotten a picture of that.
I think I have one somewhere, but the possibilities are endless basically at the end of the day.
I mean, I literally just got back last night from driving a rooftop tent on top of my camper to Denver for a customer down there that we're doing a prototype.
Did you get a picture of that?
Yeah,
Maybe
totally.
we have to grab that from you. We'll overlay it in the video
For sure.
so that we can show the people.
There's no other way to carry a loose rooftop tent on a Raptor. It's a 5-foot bed and it's an 8-foot long tent.
Where are you going to put it, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's going to be, well, yeah, there's no way to do it, right? Yeah, so.
Whether it's a sheet of plywood or otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. So so is that everything here on this machinery then?
Machine shop.
Okay.
And basically everything that comes out of here, we'll go over to small parts later and show you kind of that anodized final assembly process. And then the next step over here is Fabric Town, so we'll walk over that way.
Okay, one last question for you. I see that you use Haas machines. Is there a reason? Are they like the best? Is there a cost efficient?
Yeah, so Haas provides incredibly good value. So our goal is to give as much value as possible to the customer and to be able to throughput a lot of process and product. And we've had a lot of luck with these Haas machines because they are economically really viable for a small business to be able to afford really, really nice equipment. And we support their F1 team, and they're made in Ventura.
F1.
Yep.
Interesting.
So, I mean, they've got an F1 race team.
Yeah.
So that's always cool.
I didn't know that. I mean, I'm not a big F1 guy. I'm sure if I look hard enough, I'd see stickers and branding and stuff
And we
like
all know
that.
they're not the best race team or even very good.
Yeah.
But, it's pretty fun to see an American team in F1.
Yeah.
So
one last question before we move on. I guess maybe give people a little bit of your background, right?
Yeah.
Because it seems like you're a figure it out guy, and that's kind of, even Brendan and our model too is like, be a self-sustaining unit, right? Like each individual person just has their job and basically runs their own little company, right? When you first started out, it was, how green were you to all of this? How much did you have to learn? What was your background beforehand?
Incredibly green. Yeah, so we started out with like a really big idea. We launched it through Tacoma World back in the day. And
2016?
Yeah, 2017, 2018.
Okay.
Yep. And we basically kind of got in over our heads and just worked 80 hours a week to figure it out. And we're still working 80 hours a week to figure it out. And I mean, the big thing is I graduated from engineering school back in 2013, 2014, and there weren't any good jobs here in Montana. And we're like, well, let's just make our own. Okay. And now we employ 50 people and pay really well here in the valley and have created a lot of engineering jobs and we've actually had a lot of employees who've worked here that have gone on to create their own businesses, which we're super proud of.
I've seen that too.
Yeah.
Like accessory companies, their own manufacturing elements and
Absolutely.
stuff,
Coffee
and everything.
shops.
Yeah,
All
there,
sorts of stuff.
there you go. Everything that comes out of here has been super impressive, including the people who have then gone on to the next phase of their life. And it sounds like you're very supportive of that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because you can't keep some people forever, and like it's good to see your friends and family and everything grow, right?
Totally, and this isn't the easiest way to make products, right? Like that's why everybody else makes their products in China.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely a few camper companies that I have to say make it in the States, and that's awesome. And we're supportive of that, even if there are competitors.
Yeah.
But like most companies, I mean, I think we're the only rooftop tent made in the USA. The only one.
I think so.
You've got South Africa, you've got Korea, you've got Portugal, and you've got a lot of Chinese products. But there's no American-made tents on the market except for ours.
Yeah, and if there is one that I saw that they were working on it's like a $40,000 rooftop tent or something like that, which, again, I mean, it seems like the competition here is not that big of an issue. But they make a cool product, but again, it's a market share thing, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to make things affordable here, but also high performing. It's a different caliber of product and different consumer at that point.
Totally, and like I think you're exactly right. The goal here isn't to have made in USA be the reason that you buy our product. It needs to be a tangential benefit because the consumer can't afford to care. If we don't make the best thing at the best price, then who cares? So our explicit goal is always how do we add the most value possible for our customers and still make things here, which is really hard, and that's why we built all of our own automation tools. That's why we're fully vertically integrated. That's why we have the systems and team that we have here. So really focusing on innovation and quality and just like the highest quality components in the market.
Yeah, dude, that's amazing. You got so much going on in your head. I feel like you and I could probably talk for hours, but we should probably go to Fabric Town now, yeah?
Perfect.
All right, so this is Fabric Town.
Yes, sir. So this area is probably the most challenging area to learn as somebody who didn't start out in fabric. I've got a lot of manufacturing experience in hard goods, but fabric is kind of its own beast, and it's totally different than everything else, and there's probably the least infrastructure domestically for fabric production compared to anything else.
Okay.
This is probably the hardest part to make in the USA and still pay well, because typically what happens is fabric gets jobbed out to developing nations where you can pay $2 to $5 an hour for labor, and we don't do that here.
Yeah.
So we can kind of walk through the equipment here. Everything starts back there on the conveyor laser.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
And if it gets a little bit loud here, guys, you know, we'll do our best with the audio. We'll try to make sure that we're heard here, but might get a little loud next to like the fabric laser, which is what we're looking at over here, right?
Yep. So yeah, we'll probably stay back this way, but the laser here is just cutting out fabric patterns. It runs fully automated, kind of like the machines in the other space. So Willie over here is cutting some parts, and we're able to run this thing while doing other tasks. So this thing's doing the work for us as much as possible.
Yeah.
A lot of our manufacturing processes also uses a lot of heat welding and hot air welding processes. So a lot of the construction on this is somewhat similar, like what you'd see on a raft. So you have welded components to mitigate any water intrusion and keep things super durable and super tough.
So is there an adhesive in there?
Yeah, there's an adhesive that's actually physically heat pressed into this layer. And you can see here we use like really gnarly fiberglass based bug nets. So everything's just like a ground tent, but like way burlier. So probably more like a canvas wall tent or something like that, because these trucks see a lot of abuse off-road. You might throw your dog upstairs.
Yeah.
And this is an expensive product, so we don't want your dog ripping a hole in the mesh and
Right.
having to spend a bunch of time or money fixing it.
Yeah, and if you guys have never seen this stuff, it's very durable. Like it feels like a solid canvas tent.
Yep.
So
Yeah, and a lot of the overland products, we'll walk over here a little bit for noise.
Yeah.
A lot of the overland products are kind of modified version of like car camping products or ground tents, because that's where they're made. They're made in the factories in China that make those products. So what we did is we actually went from scratch, developed our own fabric, developed all of our own processes, because we wanted to build a product that was very specific to the overland or the off-road consumer. So we don't need to worry about being able to put our tent into a backpack.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what happens when you actually make products for people that use products. You end up with this awesome mix of things that actually work for what you're doing, right? So, like, there's nothing worse than having to going camping and having to air your tent out after, right?
Yeah.
If it gets wet.
Sure.
And with the Go Fast, you just don't have to deal with it.
Yeah, I haven't really, obviously condensation sometimes builds on like the roof of things, and that's a natural thing to expect, right? I know your insulation now is partially trying to solve that
so with
issue.
the headliner now, that completely goes away.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I've never had problems. That the one thing, like material, the material has always held up really well, and
Yep.
we put, I think, dude, probably over 100 nights in my last GFC,
So
and we're trying to do even more on this. And Brennan had the GFC on the second gen Tacoma. Some of these guys here have probably seen it. I actually camped in that one more than he did because he's got the multiple trucks, and he's the 400 guy, I'm the Tacoma guy.
Yep.
So when I'm out there in Sacramento, it's usually me hucking the 2G around. That's my truck.
Yep.
And it's funny, a lot of people actually confuse it. They're like, dude, how'd you get to Sacramento so fast? And I'm like, dude, this is not my truck. And now the 3G's gone, so hopefully less confusion. But anyway, all the material and everything has always held up really well. It's been great, and I know you guys have done some upgrades. When we get to sales, retail, and install, we can probably do like show us the V2 Pro stuff, right? And we'll talk about all those upgrades. But
100%.
yeah, so this is Fabric Town, and you said this is probably one of the most difficult areas that you said that you had to figure out. Strangely enough, right, you're building campers that can handle vehicle rollovers and insane speeds in Baja, but the fabric is what ended up being one of the most difficult parts to figure out.
Yeah, because it just does, like, it all got offshored in the 80s.
Yeah.
So everything went overseas. So we're building back infrastructure from nothing. So this is like a pretty advanced fabric welding facility, which is crazy because it feels like we're just still starting out. But like building back that domestic manufacturing infrastructure, we've actually had our former head of fabric, Tom Gilpatrick, started his own apparel company and his own bag company, and he makes some stuff for GFCs too called Vernacular Stone Storage.
Dude, I had their stuff, the space frame bags. Dude, those are like one of the coolest bags. I got to call him again and say, yo, man, I need a couple more of those because those are amazing.
Yeah, now he's got a whole apparel line down in Oakland area. So
That's amazing.
He took what he learned from here and some other jobs he had previously and made his own business.
Yeah.
He's creating more jobs in fabric. So we're building that infrastructure. So our goal is like, how do we get our team stoked? If they want to work for us, we'll create a great environment for them to stay working for us. And if they want to go do their own thing, we're so supportive of it.
That's amazing. And the crazy part is that where we are in the world right now, it's middle of 2025. Things have been incredibly turbulent. There was COVID. Now we're dealing with tariffs. Now we're dealing with manufacturing problems. Now the country is starting to kind of show some cracks and vulnerabilities, right? Especially when we saw the supply chain break down throughout COVID and everything like that, right? And I imagine you guys are somewhat at least isolated because you're sourcing and doing everything here, but you are literally, it's kind of like a monumental time in history and a monumental position, right? It's in you guys are in the innovator space in bringing manufacturing back to the United States at a pivotal moment in history. I feel like this will be one of those moments where we lost a lot of it, and now you are kind of slowly bringing it all back.
And that's what's so cool about all these manufacturing tools, right? So all those universal robotic arms on the houses in the other shop over there, that conveyor laser on fabric, this stuff wasn't possible 10, 15 years ago. And now that we can bring those tools in, we can actually build businesses that are meant to build stuff in the States that are still competitive with what you're seeing out of Asia at way higher quality.
Dude, that's incredible.
Yep.
That's really impressive, man. It's really neat to see all this stuff. So that's it for Fabric Town, and we're off to
Small parts and sub-assemblies.
small parts and sub-assembly. Let's do it. All right, now, so this isn't a town like the other one.
This is
Small parts town.
Yeah, pretty much small parts town.
Okay,
Yep.
got it.
Yeah, so each one's like its own little town.
Yeah.
We'll find some of those parts that you were seeing.
Yeah, like the end caps, yep.
So here is a finished version of that end cap that we saw come off those machines earlier. So we've got basically a tumbled finish to get it like a really smooth kind of matte finish, and then it's got a double clear anodized. So looks really nice, kind of like a titanium style finish. And you can see all the pocketing for the V2 Pro with the GFC logo built
Now,
into it.
is there anything in the design that reinforces the strength as compared to the block, or is this just like make it prettier?
This is make it cool.
Aesthetic and make it look the little details, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, like, it's kind of a pride of ownership thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
It's how do we take something that was kind of a slab before and just make it like a really fun thing to own? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, how many parts do you own like that? Like maybe a pocket knife or a firearm, or like a race car part. But like, there's not a lot of places where you can buy stuff like this. And then to be able to buy something like this at a price that's not unreasonable is kind of cool.
Yeah, I really like it. I mean, I'm all about details. I'm very detail oriented, maybe sometimes like to a fault, right? Where like I'll spend too much time doing something, right? Like perfect fitment on whatever the slider or whatever the part we're working on. So I love that, you know, man after my own heart, that you're very detail oriented, and that's super important, right? Because if you're going to overlook some of this stuff, you're not going to have the same product, you're not going to have the same experience, and maybe not everybody's looking for that, but I think maybe subconsciously, you know, even if they're not immediately recognizing it, everybody is going to eventually see like the time that went into it, or at least feel it, maybe is the better way to say it.
No, absolutely. And over here we've got all of these, basically the interior tabs. You don't even see these parts. These are what actually are inside of the tubes
I've never
on the
seen
camper.
that.
So all anodized components. This one's dusty because it's probably a pretty low volume unit like a Nissan or something. But yeah, basically these tabs all slot in, all the fasteners go in. And
That goes into like the extrusion, the aluminum portion, right? And that's
correct.
kind of what in the
Yeah,
joinery.
so inside that space frame, there's actually kind of like a Japanese style furniture joinery system. So these actually tab and slot into each other.
Yeah. So Japan, clearly their processes and their success
totally.
is a big influence
They're
on
good
what
at
we're doing
making
here.
simple, strong, high quality things.
They're very good. Yeah. We'll see a lot of people are complaining about the reliability on some of the new Toyotas, but bare minimum that there's a problem, they're taking care of people.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's still a Toyota at the end of the day.
I mean, they'll give you a new motor if you have a problem.
Right. Yeah. And you don't have to spend 30 grand to swap it out because it's a big job.
Oh, yeah. So these are the kind of reciprocal carts that you see with those tube carts we were looking at earlier. So each camper has a tube cart and then a small parts cart. So each one of these is going to get built out with exactly the amount of fasteners and components that it needs for final assembly. And we'll see those over in final. And basically all the fabric goes underneath here in a special bag to keep from getting dirty before install. And then all the panels for the campers that are actually in these boxes.
We've got some B-roll of it, of the guys like, you know, putting the hardware and the stuff, and the doors are all laid out here. So we'll show you guys, we'll cut this stuff in.
Yeah, that's too easy. And then we'll go see a finished cart over in final assembly if you want to walk over there.
And it's good to note, not only are these guys providing local jobs, building a business, bringing manufacturing back, paying these guys well, but you also offer a killer work week, right? Because they're only working, I know it varies depending on your position, but a lot of people have a 4-day work
so
week.
Everyone in production's 410s.
Yeah.
Yep. So our engineering team a lot of times will come in on Fridays and kind of do like a 5/8 schedule, depending on what they need to do for kind of supporting the manufacturing process. So it's nice to work on Fridays in the downtime.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone in production has a really killer schedule, and a lot of, I mean, Fabric Town comes in I think at like 5 or 6 a.m. and they're able to get out of here by 4.
That's amazing. Yeah, I've noticed that, you know, even on some of the longer shifts, there's dogs that are like, so it's like, it's such a cool culture here, right? Because there's dogs hanging out. I met Bean, the little Frenchie. I think I got B-roll of all the dogs, so I'll probably cut in the different dogs. Bean is the only one whose name I remember. She was super friendly though.
Yep,
but yeah, even though, you know, obviously we're working, everyone's grinding here. Dude, people are laughing, people are smiling. Obviously in Fabric Town where they're sewing, they might have their noise canceling stuff on, but everybody, like nobody here looks miserable, right? Everybody's like, I got my job to do. You know, everyone's going on lunch. I hear them laughing, having a good time. So the culture and the work environment here is really good.
Yeah, and it's really cool because we're able to have like focus on uplifting employees' skills as opposed to having them do that monotonous labor, right? So our goal is how do we make that monotonous labor automated so that people can actually use their gifting. So if we can get people who are high-skilled laborers and really experts in their field, then they've got a great career trajectory with us or anywhere they want to go. And that way they're not just putting bolts in a hole all day.
So I know a big thing I've always seen you, I know you run like the socials and stuff like that a lot, you're on there. I've seen you talking a lot about some of the intricacies of manufacturing, right? Where do we stand, I guess, somewhat quickly, right, on where automation and I guess maybe even AI, because that all kind of falls into place. You have a very specific view about it, and you don't look at it as a bad thing, because you're like, hey, we're going to get rid of the monotonous stuff, the repetitive stuff that might drive people a little crazy, and we're going to put them in high skill positions instead, and there will always be jobs, I guess, that will develop on the back end of that, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about, would you rather be working on a crew of 30 guys with shovels or 2 guys with an excavator, right? So, like, we'll be able to become more productive collectively, being able to automate, like, the shovel work. Or same thing with, like, the ATM. I mean, back in the, I think when the 80s, when the ATMs came out, like, the bank tellers were like, oh my gosh, like, this is going to ruin our jobs. But, like, now they're not just giving $10 to somebody that just wants to grab $10 real quick, and they can do high value transactions or focus on the relationship, right? Humans are so good at relationships. They're so good at pattern recognition. They're so good at fixing things that are broken, and robots just aren't. So you don't have to be a quantum physicist to run a robot in our production facility. You just need to make sure that you care and you can tell if something's broken or not. And that's a lot more fun. I mean, you can like listen to the Joe Rogan podcast and just load parts all day.
Yeah.
But like that's just the same. Like do that for 6 months, and it's like that's a monotonous job.
It gets tiring,
Yeah.
for sure. It's. I think people are just scared to change a lot of the time. But if we look at it historically, like you said, even with ATMs and bank tellers, I mean, we can go a little bit further back and even take it back to automotive. Would you rather drive or take the horse across the country?
Totally.
You know, it took me 19 hours, but we drove 1,300 miles. You know, and that's kind of fast because if I had to do that on like a horse and carriage, it would take me like a week to get here.
Totally.
So we all have become accustomed and somewhat maybe blind to some of these things that are now normal to us and that we accept, but then we have resistance to the next stage. But again, look at it historically, everything has always gotten better. Working conditions have gotten better, work weeks have gotten better, and the jobs have gotten better, and we just move people into higher skill positions. And obviously time will tell, but historically we haven't seen like massive layoffs when some kind of tech, kind of improves or manufacturing process improves. We create a different type of job, right?
Yeah, and I think the big thing here is like if we had to physically staff all of those entry-level production jobs or like the monotonous production jobs, it's not like, is it okay to pay them $12 an hour? Because that's not a living wage here, right? So how do you be able to like create ethical jobs that result in really high quality product at a price customers can actually afford? And it's not really an option if you want to pay everybody to do non-automated jobs $30 an hour. Like that, like you can't achieve that goal and still create value for customers. At the end of the day, like Go Fast Campers only exist to serve its customer base. Like that's all we are. And if we can't create value for our customers, we don't deserve to be in business.
Yeah, dude, such a nuanced conversation too, right? A lot of people, especially when it comes to starting a business, right? They don't really, and myself, I had to learn it, right? There's so many things that go into it, and it's never just so black and white, and it's also not so polarized. There's a lot of spectrum stuff to talk about there.
Totally.
And the conversation is just so much more complicated than people realize, and I'm sure you guys can see the parts, you guys can see everything going on here. It's not a simple operation. These guys have done a great job, and they're trying to get better at it, but it's a very complex thing to do, especially at scale.
No, and it takes a lot of years. Like when you're small, it's really easy to innovate super quickly and make big changes really fast, and that's great while you're starting out. But like once you get into some sort of scale, it's just everything is so much harder, right? Like once you have to do 20 or 30 or, I mean, honestly, more than 10 things a week, like switching that process over is really hard. So building modular systems that can accommodate those changes and that innovation, that ability to continue to support the customers takes a lot of work.
Yeah, so interesting. We could talk about this stuff
we're
forever.
Learning a lot.
So, yeah.
We'll leave this space and go over to final assembly.
Yeah, let's do it.
So this is the final assembly space. All the carts are prepped and ready for Monday morning over here. So you can see we've got these beam carts over here. And here is a camper kit right there. And then basically a beam kit would go with this one. So like this guy right here. And you can kind of see what I was talking about before, where all these tubes are coped and nest into each other. Even these really big beams, these longer ones here. We've got all sorts of machining features on them. And yeah, a lot of pocketed parts, tap parts.
I don't want to release anything proprietary here, but is there a reason, like there's traditional extrusion, right? And this one's like more hollow, so maybe it's a weight thing as well.
Yeah. So
what is the reasoning behind the shapes and the sizes?
Yeah, so we custom design all our extrusion profiles.
So no one else has these?
No one else has this. So we have 27 different shapes. So this isn't just like some off-the-shelf 80-20 build. And all these profiles, so like all these slots accommodate our gasket bulb seal all the way around the camper. And then basically this is like the panel return corner on one of the corners where the panel wraps around to create water and dust intrusion like block basically. That's the slot that billet tab actually slides into.
The little square that you were showing us.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Rectangle.
that's actually designed specifically to slot in there like that. And then it bolts right in. And then that goes up into that next tube that this nests into and physically joins it.
Gotcha.
So yeah, basically everything is custom tailored specifically for this application. It's all the tooling is designed. I was talking to a friend of mine over on Expo West, and he was like, "Hey, how do you the question was asked, how do you differentiate like what companies are worth looking at? Like who's like, how do you tell if a company is legit or not? And his answer was if the company has invested in fixed tooling. And that was really cool. That was Dave Harriton over AEV. And like if you're just buying a bunch of parts off McMaster-Carr or some website, it's like there's not a lot of investment in that customer long term. Whereas if you like really invest in fixed tooling and build custom applications, you can tell that there's real innovation happening there.
Okay, so that's basically saying like unique parts and elements is what you're saying by fixed tooling.
Exactly.
In a simplistic sense.
Basically, if you've invested in tooling, you have the ability to like really tailor what you're making for the application instead of kind of jerry-rigging something.
You don't want to be universal, right?
Totally.
You want to, because you could, I guess, bolt a bunch of extrusions together, you know, in your garage, but like, are you going to get as a refined of a product at the end? No way.
So like, yeah, like 80/20 is a great product, but it's not designed for this.
Yeah.
So the 80/20 extrusion profile, as an example, because a lot of people use that. It's got a usually a hole slot in the middle of all the
1x2s, right?
Yeah,
the
the
traditional
1x2s.
roof rack crossbar that we're talking
Exactly.
about.
So you've got basically 2 hole slots that are really easy to tap and drill and not attached to an extrusion, and then you've got this web that comes up, but it's not actually stiff. You don't have a full box structure. So a lot of those extrusions aren't really stiff enough to walk on, and it doesn't take that much.
They bend, because I remember seeing like the numbers. It was like, you know, a 1/4 inch of deflection at 200 pounds across a 40 inch. Like I got into it a little bit. As in my last truck, we helped a company kind of design and prototype a camper's compatible roof rack. And I remember looking at all this stuff, and you know, some of those extrusions are actually kind of weak, right? I don't know if you ever, you know, for the application they might be okay, right? If you're doing a low profile rack, but if you stand on them, if you've ever gone on your roof rack, it bends and bows.
Yeah, and that's great for like low volume prototyping, but like you can invest in fixed tooling and make something that's lighter and stiffer and stronger and better for the use case.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that they're bad. All I'm saying is that there might be a better solution out there.
For sure.
So, and then each one of these cart combos basically go over to these building bays, and then they get put together.
Okay. And then when we were here, and we got B-roll of this stuff as well, all these kind of carpeted, you know, landing pads, whatever we want to call them, that's where we saw toppers, campers. So no, they're like all the frames were just hanging out here, and obviously everything's nice and protected, so it's not getting scratched.
Exactly.
And it basically goes kind of down the line, right? It goes from here to there as you guys are assembling the different products.
On these guys, it'll actually go front to back.
Front to back.
So like it'll start out in the rear, so you got a tent sub-assembled over there for the upper assembly, and there's gonna be a tube structure that's put on that front beam right there, and that whole thing will get assembled.
Okay.
But yeah, this is all designed around high mix, so we put things into production based on when they're ordered. So we don't batch manufacture anything. So if it comes into our queue, it gets built in the order that the order was placed.
Okay, down to the hour, like you were saying.
Exactly.
Okay, so is that everything that's here? I saw, is there anything to do with like the honeycomb material that you guys do here? I mean, I see some cushions and stuff too.
We've got our foam over here. This is basically just kind of like a larger sub-assembly station on this side. So yeah, we just switched last year with the Pro to a 3-inch dual density foam.
I see the two
really
pieces
nice
here.
Yeah, it's super comfortable, and allows you to have a little bit more give on the top end. You can feel kind of how soft that is up there. And then we use a honeycomb composite roof and floor panel, which is good because it's kind of a thermal bridging inhibitor, so it doesn't allow for a lot of thermal.
Because it insulates because of the air gap that's in there. Okay.
Yep. And so kind of all that inventory is held over here for that assembly process.
Super neat. What's next?
Let's go over and check out retail. There's some installs happening
Retail?
today.
Yeah, it's a beautiful building, so let's go take a look.
Totally.
All right, so now we are at the retail location.
Yep. Yeah, so this is where all the campers get installed. We get most of our customers drive in from out of state to pick up. These guys are actually local. But yeah, this is kind of a cool old building. It used to be a theater and boxing ring back in 1910. And then found it as an old restaurant. We gutted it out and turned it into like our kind of showroom retail space.
When I came here 3.5 years ago, that was when you had barely bought the building. I think it was like late 22 or 21 that you had bought the place. And I remember it was gutted out. And right from the beginning, I was like, yo, these guys scored. Because this is a beautiful building. It's really pretty. It's probably at least, what, 150s, 100 years old?
Yeah, so 1910, so 115.
115
so
years.
all the lumber in here was cut by hand. So no
by
power
hand.
tools.
Wow.
So,
and it's got the better lumber. So this thing, it's not your regular 2x4 here anymore, which is actually like a 1x 1x2. We got real 2x4s in this bad boy. But
Dimensional lumber.
yeah, so it's amazing to see it all finished out. Again, I got a chance to kind of see it in stages somewhat.
Totally.
It's a very pretty location, and we saw the old location where I got mine installed was kind of down the road, but you guys don't do stuff anymore. Now this is the full-on.
Yeah, so we switched from that old location to this one. We thought it'd be easier to renovate this building than it was, so it took a little longer.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically we do all of the installs kind of where the old boxing ring actually was.
Yeah.
Underneath the skylight.
Did it come down from the ceiling? I think I might have said that, but I might have misspoken. Or was it on the second level?
So there was another level.
Okay. And then that's where guys were fighting.
Yeah, so the boxing was in the middle here, and then there's a mezzanine all the way around this space.
Yeah.
So you kind of watch the fights in here.
So it's kind of nice to have the historical element. Like a lot of people came here, right? Because this is probably one of the biggest and most active buildings in town, especially 100 years ago.
Yep. No, and since so many of our customers are coming out this way, it's like a really good place to like foster community and build that relationship in person.
Yeah.
So we've got camper getting dropped on this Colorado back here, and then kind of over this way.
Yeah, show us the rigs and everything over here.
Yeah, we've got some fun vehicles.
Really fun.
We start off with those first, probably. Huh?
Yeah. That one.
So this is my family's old pre-runner. So it's a Chevy Love. My grandpa kind of helped establish the mini truck class for off-road racing.
Okay.
Back in the day. So this is the Isuzu Chevy collab from like, I think.
This is an Isuzu?
Yeah, exactly.
I had an Isuzu Trooper. It was my first car ever.
Totally.
A 99, and my dad had one. He had a little manual one that he bought, and I got an automatic, and it burned a lot of oil. That's a big thing. They had those piston ring problems, but it's a great little car. Probably still running out there to this day. I thought it was a Toyota. I mean, clearly I don't know what I'm talking about.
Just like it.
Yeah.
So this is an old Chevy Love. Looks like a first-gen Toyota pickup, and this was raced a lot down in Mexico. So my family had the factory race team for GM until 2002. So we raced pre-runners, trophy trucks, kind of all the stuff down there.
General Motors? Okay.
Yeah, so they built all the Chevy trophy trucks. Like Big Mac was the first all-wheel drive trophy truck that ever got built that my grandpa did. So my grandpa basically helped start SCORE, the off-road agency.
Okay.
That does all the racing oversight. So he was down there back in the day with an open-face helmet and a Myers-Manx dune buggy.
So from like a heritage perspective, from a historical perspective, your family kind of continues now to build the industry, right?
Totally.
So the story is incredible, right? You're not even just like some engineer, some guy that just liked to off-road. Your grandfather was out here establishing the industry and growing it, right? Those are the grassroots of, I know it's more like overlanding now and stuff like that, and that's more racing, but all of that inspired what we do here today.
That's where the Go Fast comes from. So I grew up in a suburban with all my siblings, with my dad jumping cattle guards at like 70 miles an hour out here.
Yeah.
So like he raced Baja forever, and when we came up here, like I've always learned how to drive fast in the dirt with him. So we wanted a camper that would hold up to that.
That's amazing.
And we love going down to Mexico, throwing surfboards on the roof, and kind of bombing down tracks.
You guys go to Baja pretty often. I've seen you guys down there a lot.
It's cold up here in the wintertime.
Yeah, for sure. Believe me, I'm from Chicago. We're in the negative sometimes, so I get
100%.
it. It gets chilly, but you guys get probably a lot more snow here than we do.
More snow. It's beautiful here in the wintertime. But it is cold.
It's been a lot. Hasn't snowed as much around the Midwest in the recent years, but so how old is this vehicle?
I think this is the early 70s.
This is early 70s. Does it still run?
Oh yeah.
It runs? You ever take it out or
it needs a prep? It'd be really fun to go race the Nora with it and build a camper for the back.
Is there anything like special motor-wise done on this stuff, or is this like, kind of like an LT?
I think it's just a warmed over kind of stock motor. Probably a hot cam and a little higher compression piston.
But this was raced.
Yeah.
And your grandpa was behind the wheel.
Yeah, and my dad.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's my dad, Jeff.
So your dad is Jeff. Okay. Yeah.
So Hella, Pennzoil.
So I mentioned those are all sponsors, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Rough Country Shocks. They're that old. I didn't even know that.
Totally. No, and it's fun. You see like old trucks like this with like Smitty built logos on the side. You're like, oh, they used to do cool stuff.
Yeah. Did they change the Pennzoil logo spelling? Isn't it one N now? Or am I just making that up?
That might be like a Berenstein Bears thing.
Or what's it called? The Mandela effect or whatever. Yeah, or like the Fruit of the Loom one, where it's like how many cornucopias were there and where's the fruit lay in the logo. But what do we got here? This is like an Aussie spec.
Yeah, this is a
Land Cruiser.
This is a 79 series cruiser with the turbo diesel V8.
What year is this?
It's
this is
early
new?
2000s.
Okay, they still kind of look like this though. The ones that are available are almost identical to this, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I actually just bought one in Australia, a dual cab 79. Looks just like this, drives just like this. It's like a little mini F-350.
Are you bringing it over to the
No,
States?
I'm gonna leave it there.
You're gonna leave it there. Okay. Are you guys expanding into down under now?
Looking at options.
Okay.
So we're partnering with an Australian company right now to import an awning and then build it here in Montana.
Okay.
So a company called Clever Shade. So we're basically working on collaborating with our friends down there, and then just basically want to build a camper for the 79 and go test it in the Australian outback.
Sick. And this is another one of your vehicles then,
This is a buddy's truck.
This is a buddy's truck.
Yep,
Okay,
so
and it's
we're-
just here for display, just
Well,
to.
it's here, we're building a camper for it.
Oh, okay. That'll work
Yeah.
with kind of like their flatbed looking,
Yeah, so
whatever the
this is
setup.
This is a normal.
That's a factory
this
bed.
Is a factory tub, like a truck bed. So we'll pop the cab rack off of this.
Oh,
guy,
I see this.
and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
basically go from the bed rails up with a normal camper. It's a really tall camper because the
The cab is huge.
the belt line of the top of this bed is really low. But this is, I believe it's an Australian truck with a Saudi spec bed. They never offered it with these beds in Australia.
How much does one of these run you nowadays out here? Like, what's something like this cost?
I don't know. I would think it'd be like in the 40 to 50 zone.
Because the new ones are like, they look basic and they might be simple on the inside, but they're like 80 or 90 grand for those things, right? They're
But
pricey.
and they're built in Japan. They're Land Cruiser quality, right? So it's kind of that factory.
Solid axle too.
Yep. Oh yeah, lasts forever.
Big. These have big. Everything is big on this truck. It's like work truck,
Yeah,
right?
it's like
This
a 200 series, how all the parts are shared with the Tundra.
Oh, that's
It's like-
amazing.
Yeah, so it's like this is like a proper work truck. This is meant to last
Beefy.
300,000-400,000
The
miles.
workmate.
Yep, exactly.
I like it.
Yeah, and the interior is like a city bus.
Yeah,
like very-
I can see that. It's so tall. I really want one of these things, man. If they let us start importing the newer ones, are you allowed to import the other ones, or do they not get emissions?
So most of them are frame swapped.
Oh, okay.
Like this.
What if I had dealer plates? Can I run around with it on dealer plates?
For just display purposes, like this one, you can import it on like a show permit.
Oh, okay.
So, but you can't drive it on roads unless it's frame swap.
Gotcha. Okay.
So this right here is the Pro. So this is kind of our display unit right here. So we've got the big differences on the Pro versus previous generations of products. We have a new tent pattern.
Dude, the tent upgrade, it wasn't a bad tent, but this new tent has fixed any little minor thing and improved upon everything. It even feels like thicker. I don't know if that's a good way to describe it.
The door is literally, like we did the math, it's 69% bigger for overall.
The
open
opening
surface
is larger, yeah.
So our goal was how do we make this have the biggest vantage point possible and then offer a lot of weather protection. So we can basically zip these corners down, zip that back down, prop rod these open, keep these forward windows for ventilation, and we also have some passive vents up top to promote airflow.
And these are all upgrades for the Pro.
previous.
Yeah.
Yep, so the tent fabric is probably the biggest deviation from the previous gen
Yeah,
to the new.
visually speaking too, it's like it's one of the first things you notice after all like the little machine components and everything,
Yeah,
and the
exactly.
latches,
Yep,
right?
So we did updated latches, new machine components all the way around. They all come factory with a lighting kit that switches from red to white and is fully dimmable. So we have 4 lights downstairs and a light upstairs. The headliner's included from the factory. And then we also have a drip rail to keep water from dripping in the
Yeah.
cab.
So I had. Obviously, you said you support a lot of these people who get into the aftermarket. Some people that even came from here did aftermarket for the GFC. Not even, like Vernacular did the frame bags on top of like his bike stuff or his bags and everything like that. So it's cool to see you guys are now incorporating some of those things because like I had the drip rail. Now that you have the really custom one with the etched out spot for or the cutout for the GFC logo and everything.
Yeah, so
These are all really important things because after I added, the awning blocks and all this stuff on my last one, I'm like, dude, this should be standard. And you guys listen. That's the bottom line, right?
Totally.
You guys are clearly listening to the consumer and what people are complaining or asking for, and you guys are making all the
what
upgrades.
they're excited to modify. And when someone like Josh Edgar comes to market with those drip rails that are really cool solutions, we're able to basically buy directly from Josh.
And you support another business,
we're
right?
still supporting the
Another
aftermarket.
American business. So
exactly.
let me ask you this before I forget. We did a little run with Backwoods on that Molly panel. Remember on the back?
Yep.
I love that thing. Are you guys gonna do a Molly panel? Maybe.
Yes.
All right, you are. All right, dude. Because I'm looking. I put a turbo cubby in on there, which is amazing, dude. That's such a cool setup. The Molly panel though is probably one of, again, the camper is amazing, but that's something about that Molly panel. It's so cool. It got me stoked. The axes, the air up kits, some bags, some gear and stuff like that, dude. So functional. So I'm glad something is brewing here. And I even watched the turbo cubby video. The turbo cubby has some pre-slotted mounted stuff that you guys might be working on some other accessories, so there's future compatibility with them as well. So
yeah, no, our goal is to basically continue to offer more and more aftermarket components from factory, so it just takes a lot of that install headache or complexity away from the customer and just puts it right at our shop here in Montana.
yeah, maybe GFC awnings.
Yep, so we're working on that right now.
Oh, see?
Yep.
Great minds,
Yep,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah, I see you guys have the new billet mounts, which I know are not necessarily that new. Maybe like
Yeah.
they've been updated a little bit, but I've
billet
seen the
lowers
billet.
you.
The billet lowers, okay.
Totally. And what that enables is for us to, and this is just the power cord that runs down from the lighting kit, so you can see. Oh shit. There's a problem with the voltage coming out of this with the battery.
Yeah, it's not a lighting problem. Mine works just fine. They all work. We can show you guys. There'll be a separate video on V2 Pro
We'll run
overviews and
B-roll
stuff like that.
plug into a wall charger.
Yeah,
Battery then.
yeah, we'll figure it out. But yeah, I see like you got the nameplate up here now too. A couple little different things. You guys have a ton of different colors. Obviously, you can see them up over here on the wall. Yeah, the new white, more of an Arctic white now instead of the off-white, so it matches some of the Toyota stuff a little bit better.
Silver, blue, green, bronze, and then a dark blue as well.
Yeah, dude, I was tempted. I kept it a little bit more conservative this time. I went on white the first time. I was like, man, I'll go black and stone gray for the tent material. But you better believe I was looking at bronze, which is one of the coolest things. I had a bronze topper too.
Yep.
The bronze is one of my favorite colors. The green would have gone good too. Even the red. For some reason, the bronze oxide looks really good with red accents.
yeah.
I'm feeling like trophy truck status.
Totally.
So I was almost tempted to do that, but I'm like, man, I'm thinking in the future. Everything. But yeah, tons of colors to choose from.
Yep, absolutely.
Super solid. All right, so now we've gotten through the tour of the install service area.
Yeah.
I have a new 4th gen Tacoma.
Yep. Let's check out your truck.
Let's check out my truck. So we literally installed this yesterday. I have probably what's about as decked out of a V2 Pro as it gets.
Yep. Absolutely.
And why don't I let you take the floor? You know more about this than anybody. So we got everything set up, turbo cubby and everything. Let's just run through it real quick.
Yeah, totally. So if you're not familiar with the product, the big thing here is we've got this canopy lower, and then up here, and here's one of the actual mattress pieces. So you basically got a big kind of standing hangout space in here. So if you want to get up and down from inside, if you want to hang out outside of the rain, basically have a shelter in your truck bed, a place to hang out, and then also you can carry all your gear down low. So if you're hunting or doing a dump run or whatever, you got dirty gear downstairs. Easy to have a clean, easy sleeping space upstairs. So this one's got the new headliner, like we talked about earlier, all the new tent fabric with huge side doors, and then we've got some passive ventilation solutions. So we've got a front small venting window, and then some vents above the side doors. So what that allows to have happen is when you have it all closed up, like in the rain or in kind of a humid environment, the air is still flowing through to mitigate any of that condensation issue. The new mattress is really nice too on the Pro. We've got a 3-inch dual density like we talked about.
Yeah, we saw it over there.
In the final spot. And then yeah, just a lot of really neat details, like all the anodized billet parts that you're seeing on the milling machine, all kind of in practice here. Red, white lighting kit, switchable all the way around. Basically just all dialed in and super lightweight. I think this camper on the 4th gen only weighs like 260 pounds.
Dude, that's light.
Yep,
That's
super
very light. Some of the other alternatives, and even like we're talking about slide-ins and stuff, I mean, they could be 4, 5, 6, 700 pounds.
Oh yeah, and even just like a fiberglass truck cap can be 240, 250 pounds.
Right, and you're not getting anywhere to sleep.
Yep,
Yeah,
totally.
and they are definitely not made for off-roading.
Nope.
Because those things crack all the time with heavy use. Not even heavy use, moderate trail use can crack a fiberglass truck cap. So.
Exactly, and that's kind of what you're seeing down here is this lower space frame assembly. All this tube work is the real backbone of this product. And then all of these panels come down and close on these. We actually added some new gaskets this year that are even burlier than the older ones.
I noticed that right away, yeah.
So even more water and dust kind of exclusion there.
Yeah, little 3D printed caps here. I know people used to sell these aftermarket. You guys are like, yeah, we should do that and cap it all off.
Exactly, and with these newer gaskets, those 3D caps are actually like a bump stop for the panel to make sure that you're right in the perfect compression range on that gasket all the way through.
Okay. You don't see too many turbo cubbies out in the wild. At least I haven't seen a ton of them.
Yeah, so it's a really neat thing. You can carry a lot of gear in here. So you guys throw batteries in them. Basically have all sorts of cabinet storage solutions. So you can access your gear from the side panel. The other neat thing about the turbo cubby that you haven't done yet is you can actually remove these side braces.
Yeah, so, I saw that.
Yeah, the turbo cubby is structural. So you basically have that shear plane accomplished with the sheet metal part. and you can pull those 2 side braces out and have full access to the side.
Yeah, the install video, your engineer was like, you know, if you're really gonna send it, we recommend putting it back in, but for daily driving, moderate trail use, you can take them out. I like the extra strength. I'm not, you know, when I'm daily driving, I'm not beating the crap out of it or anything like that. And I don't think I'm gonna be putting anything so big in there that it'll interfere. So I'm kind of like, before I lose one of those things and put it in some random place, we're okay for now. But yeah, I did see that you can remove it. But I love this in that removable back panel too. So you can either have the pass through, or you can have like a little cover that goes right over there. So the adjustable shelves and everything. This is super cool. Like it was, it's a tedious process to put together. There's probably 300 nuts, bolts, washers, and everything, but it does fit together really well. Clamps down in there. I was standing on it earlier, so it's very strong. It's got the textured powder coat. I think you guys were saying to prevent visibility of scratches and stuff like that. They come in white.
White and black.
White and black. White, I heard, was good for visibility, which I didn't think about at all, because like it's dark, everything is black.
But the black looks really good.
Yeah, the black is, it's clean. It's definitely very clean. And now that I look at it again, I thought they were wider. Maybe I was looking at the full-size model or something like that. But having 2 of them would be really cool. I was thinking about my fridge. Eventually, we're going to put a fridge setup. You could also do it in the back. But I think the singular one is going to work out well for us. Do a little drawer system eventually.
The single side on the camper works super well, so you're not eating too much of your floor space on the inside.
But there's a surprising amount of space in the aisle.
Yeah, still quite a bit of room. For sure. And then, I think the other neat feature about this tent up here is actually the back door. So we've got an option. You can show you.
You can kind of come from the outside?
Yeah.
Here, we'll get the mic in here so we can still hear as you're opening it up.
So
the new zippers and stuff are massive.
Oh yeah.
The old zippers weren't bad, but these are, I think they don't rattle because there's no metal on metal contact anymore.
And they zip all the way around now, so the bottom of the door zips totally closed. So the cool thing is you can also zip down this top section here.
Yeah.
So if you want privacy but still airflow or like visibility, you can basically zip this down into kind of like a stargazing mode, but you're still kind of protected from the elements in here. So
does that window, will it come out if because you said this one, the one you're touching? So you can unzip it all the way around and it'll come out?
So this one, it's got like a middle zipper section, but then it's also got, where is it? A full bottom zipper section as well. So it zips top and bottom. So so it can zip down from the top or zip up from the bottom.
And is it removable?
No.
Like it's still attached.
It's still attached to the very top.
So you don't lose it or flies away or something like that. Yeah, I really like the new design. The new design of the tent it's impressive. I mean, again, the old one wasn't bad, but even there's like the little pockets by the windows, right?
Yep, totally.
Yeah, those are cool. Well, I think that's gonna do it.
Yeah, thanks for coming out, man.
Dude, Graeme, it's been so much fun here. You're a cool dude. Everybody here is awesome. Everybody's working hard, grinding. Amazing business, beautiful location.
Thanks, man.
I mean, if you guys are looking for a job, right? I'm sure there's going to be openings. If you wanted to find a killer company to work for, an incredibly beautiful area to be in, this area is, I mean, it's amazing. I don't know what else to say. GFC, amazing company. I don't know, have you guys ever done this deep of a tour with somebody before? Is this like the most intense one that we've done? So something for the people. We're here for the people. We're here for the community. Hopefully you guys learned everything. Obviously, we'll be in the comments. I'm sure Graeme and GFC will be in the comments. We're gonna, always keep striving to build better products. Keep making more jobs happen. Get better every single day. And just thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to meet you. We appreciate everything. Again, make sure you guys like, comment, share, subscribe, all that stuff, right? We might do one more outro before we get out of here. But yeah, it's been a pleasure. It's been a really good time. My second GFC here. I cannot wait to start testing it out. We might go out with the guys here this weekend, so you guys might see some more content come out of that. But again, thank you so much. Keep doing what you're doing. You guys are on a killer path. I really respect and appreciate everything you guys are doing here. And we'll probably do a little outro here. But Graeme, thanks again.
Thank you.
All right. That was cool. Graeme is a super chill dude. Company definitely always comes down to leadership, and you can tell that he's a real genuine dude and he cares. It's not just about building a company, selling a product. It's about bringing American manufacturing back. It's about providing the best product, and oftentimes I hesitate to call stuff the best because sometimes there are subjective elements to that. and there still are in the camper category, but I would say for inventing a new camper class and building this, and especially what the V2 Pro has become, and some of the things that were alluded to or teased to us off camera, I think Go Fast makes the best camper in this category, and they should. They came up with the idea, right? So shout out to Graeme, shout out to everybody here. It's been a blast. I mean, it's just fun to be here, even as a customer. You get to hang out in the customer lounge. They have food, they have drinks, they take care of you here. And again, everybody is stoked to be here. So one more factory tour down. Once again, thank you to GFC. It's been awesome. I cannot wait to go and start testing these things. We're probably gonna go to the GFC company cookout tomorrow after we do a little bit of wheeling and camping. And I did over 100 nights in these so far in other trucks and Brennan's and everything like that. So let's try to set a new goal with this one of 200. Thanks for sticking around. Like, comment, share, subscribe, do all that. Please help us, the channel, grow. Support us, we'll support you. Let us know if you want some free stickers or something. But I'm Conrad from Trailco. Thanks for sticking around. We'll see you on the next one.